The following is a Bell to Bell B2B audio production. Bell to Bell is one of 50 plus trusted brands within the Investor Brand Network, IBN. As a multifaceted financial news and publishing company, IBN uses its network of more than 5,000 key distribution outlets, as well as other corporate communication tools, to introduce public and private companies to a wide audience of investors, consumers, journalists, and the general public. Our reputation for highly efficient communication strategies is based on the experience and relationships our team has in the space. It is Investor Brand Network's unwavering commitment to connect the investment community with companies that have great potential and a strong dedication to building shareholder value. The following interview may feature a client partner of Investor Brand Network. IBN may have been compensated for the production of this interview. Please be sure to read our entire disclaimer for full disclosure. Thank you. And here today is your host, Stuart Smith.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us again for another edition of our online business briefing, where we shine a spotlight on some of the smartest and freshest plays out there in the business world today. And to that end, we're speaking to an exciting company I'd like you to learn more about. That's EV Transportation Services Incorporated. I want you to look up the company at the Investor Brand Network, go to the client page. You're going to find a great profile about this company, as well as at their website, which is evts.com. That's Echo Victor Tango Sierra.com. Exciting company. We're lucky enough to be joined by the CEO of that company, David Solomont. David, how are you today?
I'm terrific. Thank you. Pleasure speaking.
Hey, it's a pleasure speaking with you, and thanks so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to call in and speak with us today about your company. So let's start there. Tell us, who is EV Transportation Services?
Yes, well, we go by the abbreviation EVTS. We're a specialty vehicle manufacturer. We produce purpose-built, all-electric, lightweight commercial utility vehicles and provide fleet management solutions. Our lead product, if you will, is the Firefly ESV.
Yeah, it's a great looking product. Listeners, go to that an acronym, evts.com. EVTS, you'll see the Firefly ESV. So let's talk about the end user for this. As you pointed out at the introduction there, David, this is a commercial fleet type of vehicle. Tell us who you're targeting. Who's your target market for this?
We've got two, if you will. The first and primary market for our vehicle is what we call essential services. And that's a combination of many of the applications that you don't even think about or see. But once I mention them, you'll probably recall them. Security patrol, parking enforcement, parks and recreation, airports and seaports, universities, corporate campuses, warehouses, fulfillment, military bases. Those all comprise what we call essential services. In addition to which, we're targeting a new market, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing good about COVID, but there's an entirely new and burgeoning market for on-demand last-mile urban delivery, and that's going to be a major thrust of ours in the second half of 2021.
Yeah, very good. That's a great adaptive move by your company, and well put. You know, there's nothing good about COVID. However, there are some silver linings for some industries out there, you being in one of them, and that is in a market that is exploding. So again, kudos to you for being proactive and jumping into that additional market segment. Not that the original market segment that you talked about, the essential services, I mean, it's so massive. It's a big market for you to tap into. And listeners, at evts.com, right on the homepage, you can see some examples of this. You can see the parking enforcement. You can see the parks and recreation people that you can see the product at work right now at evts.com. David, you're the Chief Executive Officer of the company. Let's learn a little bit about you, your background, and the team that you've assembled around you.
Sure. Well, I'm founder, chairman, and CEO. I'm in my third career. My first, I started and built a number of software companies. I sold my last company in 97, a 125-person internet consulting company with offices in 5 cities in the U.S. and 1 in Hong Kong. My second career was I put together an early-stage venture fund, ran that for a number of years, And for the last 15 or more years, I've been working with one or two companies at a time, investing, advising, and frankly, EVTS started as an advisory position to help the folks who invented the Firefly. And son of a gun, I jumped in, took it over as CEO, recruited a new team around me, secured additional funding, and here we are.
Well, let's talk about that team then. I noticed on the recent news, and listeners, you can pick up the news for the company at their website, evts.com, or once again at Investor Brand Network. And you can also pick it up at Yahoo Finance just by entering EVTS. Looks like you've added to the team there with board of directors additions that you did in December. Tell us a little bit about the team around you.
Okay. Well, the operating team is really extraordinary. I mean, each one of these individuals is more capable, more knowledgeable than I am, starting with our Chief Technology Officer, Greg Horn. He grew up in Arkansas, and his vision is to see as many fireflies on the road as there are fireflies in the Arkansas skies. Jim Sabitis is VP of Operations. He comes from a consumer marketing and finance background. Paul Barrett was one of the early employees of LoJack. He's got connected vehicle software and hardware in his DNA. Eric Burmeister is our head of sales. He came from our top competitor. Our director of customer satisfaction is Todd Marcucci, and our VP of engineering and manufacturing is Michael Tepfer. All of these are incredibly talented and hardworking individuals. We've also rounded out our operating team with 4 directors and 3 advisors. Directors include Bill Bachrach, who has run a $500 million division of an auto industry company. Bob Beret spent 40 or 50 years on Wall Street. Gary Herman, his partners are Frank Stronach, the founder and chairman emeritus of Magna International. He's on our board. And Shelley Berkeley, who was a congresswoman, representing Nevada for 15 or more years, started her life as a lawyer for an energy company, represented the recently deceased, unfortunately, Sheldon Adelson, and she currently runs Truro University West with 2 campuses in Nevada and 1 in California. Rounding out our team, our advisors. Scott Miller is a senior executive at ChargePoint. They're the largest manufacturer of charging infrastructure in the world. Corey Clothier is a autonomous vehicle expert, and he joined our advisory board about a year ago. And finally, we've recently recruited, although we haven't announced, Harvey Jones, who's a director of NVIDIA, who I think of as the Intel Inside of autonomous vehicles.
What an outstanding team you've assembled there. And listeners, you can learn more about the management team by visiting that profile at investorbrandnetwork.com. David, obviously 2020 provided some unique challenges for companies like yours, but you seem to be prolific in the year 2020. As you look back on 2020, can you give our listeners some of the milestones the company was able to achieve?
Yeah, I think we've covered the most important one. First and foremost was recruiting the team, which includes management, board, and advisors. Next up is I accelerated our product or vehicle development efforts to launch our new 2021 model year vehicle. I restructured the sales channels, and finally I planned and am executing on a funding strategy that's providing sufficient capital for the company to reach positive cash flow and profitability by the end of 2021. I think at that point, we will be the only EV company on the planet that's profitable.
Well, as we push forward into 2021, and I know you've got a lot on your plate and a lot of goals, but as the CEO, operationally speaking, what are some of the milestones you'd like to see the company achieve this year?
They're pretty straightforward. First and foremost, as I speak, we're beginning to deliver our 2021 model year vehicle to dealers. That's our first priority, and then followed by customers and strategic partners. By the end of the first quarter, we want to expand our dealer network from 4 dealers to 8, all of whom are carefully culled from the dealer network that's out there. And the dealers, I should add, are most important because at the end of the day, they're the ones who have the tightest relationship with the customers and the customer prospects. We also plan to launch our EV TaaS program, transportation as a service for to the on-demand last-mile urban delivery market. And then finally, we expect to begin manufacturing and distribution in our first overseas market, the UK. And of course, as I've mentioned a few minutes ago, achieving profitability is very high on our list of objectives or goals for 2021.
Well, David, as an industry veteran immersed in the EV industry, which we have some great statistics on, and you've been able to tell us a little bit about that last mile urban delivery sector. Give us a little bit of your thoughts on this industry as we look at 2021 and beyond.
I think there's three things I would like to point out just in terms of the industry landscape, if you will. First and foremost is the growth of the EV sector. And I want everybody to keep in mind that we're really just at the inception. We're not even at the tipping point. And we are beginning to see the growth represented or reflected in the fact that both California and most recently in the last week or two, Governor Baker in Massachusetts have issued EV mandates. I know in Massachusetts by 2035, selling internal combustion powered vehicles will be outlawed. All new vehicles after that will have to be electric. And finally, the area to watch is really battery technology. And the truth of the matter is we won't really hit the tipping point in electric vehicle sales until battery technology can achieve 500 miles between charges, in addition to that the cost of an electric vehicle, which is substantially driven by battery cost, is equal or less than the price of an internal combustion engine powered vehicle. And I think the key to battery technology is solid state. And that's really what I suggest all of your listeners pay attention to. And that's something that we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years.
Once again, we're speaking to David Solomont. He is the CEO of EVTS. That stands for EV Transportation Services Incorporated. David, thank you so much for your time and your insight into your exciting company and your insight into this exciting industry. We appreciate your expertise. We look forward to speaking with you again in the future. Best of luck to you and your company here in 2021 and well beyond. Thank you, David.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right, for David Solomont, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for listening.
This audio production is an original broadcast provided by Bell to Bell, B2B, and all rights are reserved. B2B is your primary destination for informative updates and exclusive interviews with executives operating in fast-moving industries. We make market hours more informative with deep dives into the stocks on our watch list and in-depth examination of the trends guiding North American markets forward. Bell to Bell is another trusted brand under the Investor Brand Network, IBN. IBN may receive payments for corporate communication relations, as well as various press releases and social media solutions provided to its client partners. You should assume that officers and directors of IBN or financial analysts mentioned hold a position in and may intend to trade the securities for their own accounts. This interview is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell securities. Information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be, or should it be construed as investment advice. As in all investments, investment in the featured company carries an investment risk. Listeners should review the company thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This audio interview by IBN is not purported to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used in statements of fact have been obtained from featured company and other sources, but not verified nor guaranteed by IBN as to completeness and accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice. Please see our full disclaimers and disclosures at investorbrandnetwork.com.